The Marla and Dave radio experience begins in 3, 2, 1.
Now, if you're ready, we will begin.
Welcome to the Marla and Dave radio show. This is reality radio with a couple that keeps it real. Current events, pop culture, music, relationships, fitness, the hot topics of the day. Marla and Dave Thomas. This is the Marla and Dave radio show. Real radio. Turn up!
Welcome to the Marla and Dave show.
Welcome to the Marla and Dave show.
Dave's here. Marla's not here. Marla's actually pretty mad today, I have to admit. She was getting turned up in the car driving over here.
It's more than just turned up. You're right.
Turned.
I am just mad. And you know, part of the reason that I'm mad, Dave, to be totally honest with you, ties straight into our topic for today. The question that we're asking is, you know, it's the Me Too movement. Women are tired. I'm just
Me Too, time's up.
Black dress. No, what's the black dress one?
Okay, that's
Me Too.
The Me Too, yeah.
Anyway, the bottom line is not to diminish anything or take away from anybody, but somebody asked me today, you said you're tired, and I said, yes, I'm actually life exhausted. That's actually how I feel. I'm just flipping exhausted with life. And this conversation today is going to be the last shred of energy I have before I just conk out and just go into hibernation.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. The conversation today is about women being objectified, but who's to blame?
Well, Dave seems to his position that he is so
the question is who's to blame, and not who's to blame from the past. Let's talk about where we are now, and if that's even possible to actually isolate the past from where we are now.
Well, it's not possible from your position because you are sitting on the P. So when you're driven by the P, then
I'm trying to figure out what your acronym stands, what your letter stands for.
It would be that it could be the P could be equal now, couldn't it?
Let's see. Should it be equal? Because
except
think
yours
that women,
is anatomical and ours is slang.
So part of what I'm going to really try to get to today, and Tony, don't laugh at her. She's not even funny.
I'm just mad.
Part of what we're going to try to get to
mad.
today is that there's no doubt and there is no excuse for the way women have been treated traditionally.
Now you want to be sympathetic.
Roles were specifically defined for men and women. And in a patriarchal society like ours, traditionally, the definition of those roles was set by men. Women, and that's not cool.
Really?
For where we are today.
Oh.
That's not cool for where we are today. But
do you want?
Can
we talk about what we normally talk about? You're talking like we started the show. We haven't. So let's go back and talk about our week in review.
I guess so. I was kind of getting ahead of myself.
You're very much ahead of yourself.
All right. You guys are really going to want to get in on this one. So
323-524-2599. You probably should call in today to save our marriage. That's what I'm thinking.
Our marriage isn't in jeopardy.
What?
Please.
It's the P.
It is not. Anyway, Tony, you know what? Hit me with my mood song.
Are you sure?
Yeah, please.
You do something to me, something that simply mystifies me.
Marla, do you want to respond?
I do. I'd like my mood song now, please. Oh, girls just wanna have fun. You got a problem with us? Huh? Because I want to have fun? You know what? This song went from that to those hoes aren't loyal. That's what the transition was.
Let's talk about the Super Bowl. The Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles, have finally done what's been pretty hard to do.
Well,
here recently.
You know what's funny?
Is to unseat the New England Patriots.
I did a feed yesterday, and the feed was called Coming Out of the Closet. And it was so interesting because I got ready to get in the shower. I was headed to a Super Bowl party, and I like to have fun and represent the occasion. And I said, yourself? And myself said, huh? How are you going to dress? And I thought, oh, I have a jersey, an official starter. This is a real one. And I thought, and on top of it, I said, wait a minute. this jersey is an Eagles jersey. Years when David and I hosted the Capitol Jazz Cruise, we had one of the nights, the theme nights was Jersey night, and when I went to get a Cowboys fan, because I am a diehard Cowboys fan, there was not a jersey that fit me, and I picked a dog in this final fight since my dog wasn't in the race, and the dog I picked was the dog with wings, which were the Eagles. So I thought, wow, so this jersey just literally popped out of my closet, and it was so appropriate for the team that I was actually endorsing.
Yeah, I was shocked when I landed from the plane, came straight to the Super Bowl party, and Marla came out the house in the Eagles jersey. I was like, wow.
Marla's always ready.
She's
what?
all in.
Yes, for sure. What else?
I mean, that's really is insane that everybody it seemed like everybody wanted the Eagles to win, but no one believed that they can do it.
Everybody didn't want
that.
And
I have to admit, even I, up until the last 60 seconds, was thinking, this is not enough. This isn't enough. This isn't enough.
Everybody definitely did not want that. There are Patriots fans are diehards. And, eventually, listen, don't go home crying for Tom Brady. He's got Giselle. You hear me?
I used to be a Patriots fan because, quite honestly, I respect the dynastic nature of New England, to be honest with you.
He keeps using this word, dynastic. He's so happy with that little word.
Wow.
It's just, he's just recycling it
really,
over
bro?
and over. Like
really,
my,
bro?
like
You're
my
just
jersey.
insulting. That's what you're going to do?
What do you mean?
You're just insulting, sweetie.
Dynastic is that. Listen.
No. Again. Oh, and you just doubled down. Oh, this is going to be a good one today.
I thought you said patronize.
This is going to be a good one.
You said Patriots.
This is going to be a good one.
My bad. I got messed up. I got messed up.
Oh, man. So also this week, Take 6 was on the road. We were a couple of places in Texas, and we're still working on the new project. Man, just a lot of things happening, which is why, and I almost missed the Super Bowl party because I was leaving from Shreveport, and this is real. When we got to the airport,
don't blame it on the Jamaicans. I know where you're going with this.
I think they were Jamaicans, but they were because I really am trying to pick up what am I trying to say? I'm trying to pick up their.
Well, what you are saying is that you're a man of decency, and I appreciate that. And that
I was trying to pick up on their conversation to see where it implied that they were from, but they were black in skin tone. I'll put it to you that way.
They weren't from. You didn't say shithole country. That's winning.
Of course. Are you kidding me? And on top of it, we get on the plane. Everybody boards, and then since they were some of the last ones to get on the plane, suddenly luggage has to come off the plane. And we stood there and we waited.
Did you look at the luggage come off the plane? Because you could determine where they were from by the type of bag, maybe the. No.
Really? And anyway, regardless, I'm not going to imply, and I guess I was implying that it's because they were Jamaican or because they were black that's kind of was the holdup. But anyway, we were held up on the runway.
Maybe it was
a lot of bags came off, and I'm not going to say whose bags they were, but. We were so late getting into Atlanta that we missed our connection and barely made it to the Super Bowl party.
But you did make it, and we'll talk a little bit about the Justin Timberlake halftime show. Did he boss up or was it bust? He's getting a lot of heavy criticism that I don't even think is deserved.
Well, when I was trolling the internet.
You were trolling?
I was trolling the internet. Not trolling anybody, but trolling the internet.
Were you objectifying Justin?
And no, but I did. It was interesting that's become such a thing that he was getting criticism for what he was wearing.
Oh.
He was getting, and it's just like, really?
Yeah. So what is it? It's a man's world. Yeah.
No, it's our world, Marla.
No, you know what?
This is the madhouse.
It is the madhouse, except you just...
And when people call into the madhouse, who's the rude one?
Not me.
Okay.
I welcome you all into my kingdom.
Anyway, we're just kind of playing around. We're tussling verbally, but the real issue is this conversation today is going to be a doozy. Because quite honestly, as a man, I don't really have a good leg to stand on, but I want to actually try to bring some nuance to this conversation. The news has kind of gone crazy with just about everybody in Hollywood, everybody in politics just about, just men being brought low because of what used to be men being men, quote unquote. And now women just aren't standing for it. And kudos to women for actually taking a stand. But at the same time, I think a lot of us men who weren't behaving as rudely as some other men, we have no idea where the line actually is today.
This conversation today is not going to be about the nice guys.
Hold that thought. 323-524-2599. We'll be right back.
The Marla and Dave radio experience begins in 3, 2. This ain't your mama's radio show. Can you handle the truth? Then get ready for a real radio experience. Ladies and gentlemen, Marla and Dave.
All right. So.
All right, that was supposed to be the MaD News color piece. So we apologize for that because this is the MaD News break of the Marla and Dave show. The reality, the first story that we're going to actually deal with is Marla says, speaking of objectifying women, Trump's Super Bowl party. So there were, I'm not even sure, even if I have to go back and try to pull up the pictures online of Donald Trump's Super Bowl party. There was a collegiate team, a college university team, literally that was invited to the Donald Trump Super Bowl party, and it was really about the marching band. But then all of a sudden, all the pictures were of Donald. One picture was from a cheerleader from behind facing Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump actually shaking all of the women's hands as they were standing there in short shirts.
As he was, it was so appropriate for him to probably say, "That's huge."
Well, okay, so the problem with the picture is, and I have to say this as just, I don't really want to take up for Donald Trump, but I'm not sure that those were the only pictures that should have been available from that party.
Well,
but those are the ones that seem to make the news.
Keep your monkey A out of the situation altogether, and then you don't have anything to worry about.
They had no pictures of him shaking hands with the rest of the marching band that were in full old-time soldier uniforms, like marching bands wear, or marching band uniforms, just him and the cheerleaders. Anyway.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that Donald Trump is, anyway. Nothing will ever surprise again. Next news story. I don't even want to.
Which is?
Just
Justin Timberlake's halftime show.
Just next.
Boss or Bust. The Justin Timberlake halftime show, I have to admit that the party that we were attending was so over the top that I barely heard the halftime show.
Here's why I was boss. Number one, you knew where you were. You brought your JT to the game. Good job, JT, that you didn't let the media bump you off of your own Justinness.
What would that be?
Because that's who he is. The way he was dressed is typical for Justin, which is, comfortable. You don't need to put on any kind of, ass out chaps just to be impressive because it's Super Bowl, number one. Number two, you were in Minneapolis and you brought the Prince thing in. You took the time to talk to the family. And so you knew what was going to work and what wasn't going to work according to respecting their wishes. And then when you turn the city pink, bro, with the symbol, bro, big win in my book. Purple?
You mean purple.
It's like a hue. Yeah. Purple. Big win. To me, and no matter what you say, his discography and he's legendary in his musical. He has a lot of music. And so his catalog of music is massive. And so don't say, are you relevant? He's relevant because you know his name. Boom, boss. I'm out. Dude, drops the mic.
Marla's out. Let's keep it moving. This next story was pretty funny to me. It really caught my eye. There was a family in Apollo, Pennsylvania, who thought that their dog was dead because the dog had been missing for not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years. Suddenly, all of a sudden, they go to the door, and there's the dog. The dog came home. And what really caught my eye is there's a big difference between a dog in 1980 and a dog in 1990. A dog in 2008 and a dog in 2018. I'm not even sure that it would look the same. That because we've had dogs, we've raised dogs, and they tend to look quite different 10 years down the line.
Yeah, but
so I hope that the family just didn't take in a dog and they were so desperate because they just kind of took in a black dog because they're so convinced that they threw a party, invited all their friends over because their dog, after 10 years, had come home.
This is like a scene from Meet the Parents, Jinxie, the cat.
And then
they painted the tail.
Where the heck did the dog go for 10 years?
Somebody else had it.
It just happened to come home.
And then that other person died. And then the dog was like, dang, I need to get back to where I know I'm from. And came back.
Just for the sake of integrity of the Marla and Dave show, that's not true.
That's what happened.
Anyway, that's been the MaD News. We're going to get back to the show.
This ain't your mama's radio show. Can you handle the truth? Then get ready for a real radio experience. Ladies and gentlemen, Marla and Dave.
All right, this is going to be a really good show today. Listen, I'm going to try to keep my Marliness under control. It's going to be hard. As a matter of fact, this may be one of the few shows that I will just give the pre-warning to. Today, for all those watching, you are not tuned into the reality TV show. Even though I am Monice's mother, I am not Monice, but you might think so at some points during the show today. So I signed that waiver. You tune in at your own behest today. And Dave I'm going to give you the first whole segment, and I'm only going to respond to what you present. How about that?
I'm sure you are. Anyway, I don't know why we even needed to give that caveat. The real bottom line is I'm going to start off by saying, much like I don't think that white people get to define what it means to be black or what place a black person should be in, I don't think that men should be the ones who define or decide what it means to be a woman, where the line is drawn in some of the behaviors. But I just want to raise the issue that's slightly nuanced, and that is, I'm going to now backtrack and give you where this conversation came up for us. Take Six was actually in the studio, and we were pretty much disgusted when all the Dr. Nasser
news broke.
And literally, I went and I pulled up these two pictures. Tony, did you get the pictures? Could you try to pull them up?
I got one.
Oh, you got one? Okay, this is what women wear in just about every gymnastic event. Men seem to, did you get the other one, Tony? I'm going to try to send it to you again. Men seem to be able to go back and forth between baggy shorts, this particular, I'm going to send it again to Tony, and because it's really important that you get to see this. Long pants that are stretchy.
Look. Huh?
Yeah. Okay. Either way.
Ooh, look at that. I'm objectifying that package.
Even the guys.
Sack slap.
Long pants that are stretchy and sometimes short pants that are baggy. And when the conversation first took place, all kind of excuses were being made. Oh, you need to be able to see the sinew of the muscle. That's why women were wearing these super high French cut one-piece outfits.
Dave, do you know what it's like to not be able to be aerodynamic in a step class? Do you?
Just please. And Tony's putting up the pictures of the guys as we speak.
So I'm gonna squeeze. Look at that. Mm-hmm. Look at that. Yummy.
As if. So that's the difference. He's also putting up men in bikini shorts because they're bodybuilders. You need to see the body. That's not necessary to see the moves of a gymnast.
Okay, I could shut this whole conversation down, but we have to be here for an hour and a half, so I'm not going to.
Just let me finish this, please. And so, not that has anything to do with Dr. Nasser, but what I was saying is, notice how the women are just scantily clad, but the men are not. Why? They're doing the same thing.
Because this is what is required for their sport. So whether they're in those
Says who?
says history. And whether it is or it isn't.
So then,
Oh, wait. Okay. So wait. Hold on. What would you like for me to address? Let me just ask.
I don't want you to address anything yet. Let me finish.
Okay, but I'll put a pin in it.
All right, thank you. So then we started then talking about women in the club. Now, I haven't been to the club in quite some time, but even when I did, and from what I hear about even women in the club now, women are very scantily clad. The guys are not. Why? If you look at women's fashion, a lot of the fashion, if it's hot outside, women are scantily clad. The guys are not. Why? What is the reason for that? Is it because the guys are designing the clothes? Is that because that's what women like to wear? Is that because that makes them feel more like a woman? And if so, and then Marla, you brought up a good point as we were driving over here. There was a lady at Venice Beach who was very scantily clad, pretty much almost butt naked. And a guy said, I cannot help myself. I'm going to have to find out if this bodacious behind is real. And he went up and squeezed her butt.
And she slapped him.
And rightly so. Because it is not cool ever for a guy, no matter
You
if a
just
woman...
made 3 points.
Let me finish. For a woman to be absolutely nude doesn't give a man an excuse to actually assault, harass, or even touch her in any way. But I guarantee you, most mothers would not want their daughter to walk around like that. Go.
Everything you're saying is a nice guy backdoor way of saying that these are the reasons that these things happen. Bottom line. And so, yeah, you didn't say it, but that's the implication, because if that's the point, then what the hell is the problem? So for me, what I'm saying to you is this.
The question was about objectifying.
No, correct.
Yeah.
And what I'm
not
saying
assaulting.
is, of course, we know assault is assault, but that's not the point. You're saying the question is, why do we need to dress like this? Who is behind of the dress? Is it that you ask 3 questions? Is it that this is what makes women feel sexy? Or is this just the way people design the clothes? Or is this just what's necessary? You're asking the question. The question you're asking is, why do women have to present themselves, or why are they willing, or why do they present themselves in this way that would be so enticing that they'd have to even ward off objectifying behaviors and thoughts? Why is the question that you're asking. And I'm saying, is that not true? Because let's start with the gymnast. Let me back all the way up. Let me just address what you put out there.
I kind of want you to, because I'm not sure that you're hitting the issue, but go ahead.
This is what the sport requires, number one. Whoever decided that, they decided it. Now, logically, as an athlete, I can kind of see why. Number one, it's not even about showing the muscles as much as it is to make the outfit as skin-like as possible for the freedom of movement and maneuver. Number one. And so we have to be able to split our legs completely in two.
So do the guys.
Okay.
But they're not wearing the same kind of outfit. Why?
Because the guys have an option for something completely different. I don't know what it's like to have a scrotum. You tell me.
Oh my God.
What I'm saying.
Regardless of what's in your pubic area, they do the same types of moves.
David, okay.
Go ahead. Let me let you finish.
What I'm saying to you is, this is the way that the sport has been represented forever. That is, I can't tell you the exact reason why. I can give you some logical reasons in my mind that it seems to make sense. But at the same time, I believe that the point is absolutely freaking irrelevant. That's what I think. I think that it's irrelevant to the reasons why we are objectified, and definitely to take off the table that it's because women objectify ourselves. And even if there are those, which I will say that I'm not going to say that doesn't happen, that women present themselves in a way that is to be seen and to be lusted after and to be desired by men, of course, that's going to happen. But the bottom line is, it all boils down to, regardless of how you're dressed, women have a different body, number one. Now, let me just go there. Talk about the club and talk about whatever. There is a sensual nature to a feminine physique. And the truth of the matter is, most women know that. And I say it all the time to other women. I can walk out the house in a potato sack. What is feminine about me is my being, by just the fact I was born as a female, is feminine in nature, period, regardless of what I put on.
So to attract me, you don't need to actually show me your breasts.
I don't need that. I don't need that. But what I'm also saying to you is sometimes I do get dressed up and I feel like, here's a good example. Sometimes I want to go out or whatever and I go, you know what? I just really want to feel like I've done something extra to myself. I'll put makeup on. I come to the show not the way I came out of the bed. I did not wake up like this. Sorry, Beyonce. It didn't happen. I enhanced this with some makeup. So what I'm saying is, and that's okay, but this is acceptable to me. He didn't say, you don't get to dictate and say, oh, put on makeup before you go to the show. Tony is owner and runs our board and his friend. He can't call me up and tell me how to dress and what to do, which is why you see me in various different clothings and outfits.
Tony said if he did, he might actually have to say something. But go ahead, Marla.
Yeah, there's conversations going on. And by the way, please feel free to jump in here anytime. 323-524-2599. Are women objectifying themselves? Is Dave just completely out of line?
I need some guys to call in because I'm going to need some help.
There's some stuff that's being posted.
I'm going to try to reframe my argument because I'm not disagreeing with Me Too, Time's Up,
okay,
anything that women are saying to actually get their just due. I think that they should have their just due, but I think just due comes with things being actually equal.
Don't double talk back.
I'm not double talking back.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but what I'm trying to get to is this. You also presented some things here that are very important to address.
Finish.
I'm trying to.
Go.
I let you finish. You pin me now. So now here's the deal. The deal is these are the reasons, number one, that it has become so important for women to overexpress their sexuality. We overdo everything because you're not going to tell me what to do when you abused the power that you had as man over women. And you, in the meantime, don't do this, but then check out my sack. This is an exaggeration, but you don't have a limit as to what you can do. You know why women say free the nipple? Because if you want to be totally equal, and this is not in my world, you can decide I'm going to take my shirt off and sit here with shirtless. And it's only an establishment that would say, I won't serve you without your shirt or your shoes. If I walk into an establishment with my breast out, I'm going to jail because that is lewd and indecent exposure, public indecent exposure. So what I'm saying to you is it's not equal. So you get a chance to do some certain things because just by the nature of your gender, and again, I'm saying this with a feather brush, that's not where most of us want to be, but where we're no longer going to be is that you're going to determine my value and my worth by dictating what it is that you feel is sexually appropriate for me to wear because you can't control your damn self. That's not my problem.
I agree. But that's not the issue.
Good night.
And again, the reason why I say that's not the issue, nor is that the point that I was making, so I'm not sure why the defense came back like that. And I agree with everything that you're saying. What I am saying is we raised 2 daughters, correct?
Yes.
And when they were in our control, I can't speak for how they dress now, but when we were the ones in control of how they dressed, do you think we dressed them appropriately? I'm asking you.
Of course.
Was there
always.
such a thing as what was appropriate and what was not?
Absolutely.
And why did we say you don't dress inappropriately, sexually inappropriately?
You don't, because to me it's about their own value. It's about, well, to me, well, I can tell you right off the bat.
That statement alone, to me, is problematic because what you're saying is if you dress a certain way, you have less value.
At a certain time and a certain point, you have them learn to be modest in their dress because there's also certain attentions that they're not able or to deal with and or manage appropriatally.
That is exactly
because that's the way the world is. But
that is exactly my point.
But they're going to get to an age, which they did, where they do. Look, bro, let's turn the TV on. Our daughter is on her Twitter naked. Do you think that that's something that we taught Moniece to do?
I don't like it.
I hate it. But
but
the bottom line is that's her choice at this point. When I'm in control of the situation, I need to give you the brass tacks, the nuts and bolts. I need to give you the basics, and I need to teach you something that will not give you freedom to swing into an area that you're not able to actually control, but not because of any other reason than immaturity and your age and your independence is the dictator, not your penis or your vagina.
Let me say this from another whole.
Which I'm going to get on you for that too.
Another whole side.
Because you taught our son something totally different. You encouraged him.
No, I did not. Let me actually talk about this issue from another whole side argument. Let me just equate it or have equivocate this issue with the race issue. And in the race issue, I completely feel that white people should not have the right, or they should have no place in defining or deciding what African American black behavior should be, and as it relates to the value of a white person to a black person. But I also agree that after a while, no matter what happens in the past, what has happened in the past, and it was completely unbalanced. With white privilege versus the way black people were treated in this country. We've literally come from slaves. Slavery in this country. But there does come a time where you are not responsible for what you were born into, the conditions that you were born into, but you are accountable for what you do with what you've been given. Now, at the same time, I agree that women were completely objectified and mistreated by men for years, for centuries in this society. And women are not responsible for what has happened to them because of that. But they should be accountable, just like you said, when you dress a certain way, you did that so that they wouldn't have to deal with a certain level of attention.
We were accountable when they were children. When they became young women, they're accountable for themselves. So, Dave, the question that we're asking now is, who do you think is responsible? Have women objectified themselves? Is that why you think we're here? We'll answer that.
I think that women have joined in, but we'll get more into that when we come back.
Right.
Hey guys, listen up. Learn something. 26 years of marriage from two unique perspectives equals 52 years of relationship experience. It's time for Ask Marla and Dave. Answers to your questions about life, love, and relationship based on Marla and Dave's real life experience. It's about to get real. Ask Marla and Dave.
All right, the Ask Marla and Dave segment of the show is where you actually go visit us at our home, www.marlaanddave.com, and click the Ask Marla and Dave tab, where your question gets to move straight to the front of the line. You don't have to wait. You don't have to contact us on Facebook during the show, any of our social networks, or even call in. The question today is, Dave, what do you think about JT's Super Bowl halftime show? As a musician, if you could pick anyone, who would you like to see do the 2019 halftime show? As a fellow musician, who would you give the big gig to? All right, like I said earlier, I didn't quite get to hear as much of of Justin Timberlake's performance as I would have liked to. So I can't really give an objective account for his performance. But I will tell you this, as a musician, who's the guy who opened up the Grammys this year?
Bruno Mars. No. Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick Lamar. That is exactly who I would love to see do the halftime show.
I think we should just go
for a number of reasons.
We should just go buck wild. We should do Kendrick Lamar and then a chaser of Cardi B, and then who else is just on the cusp of just everything. Cardi B is a phenomenon to me. She's become interesting to me because I think she's a phenomenon. Who does a jump off from Love and Hip Hop and become a household name? What the hell? Anyway, I think Kendrick Lamar would be a good choice. And I know that's a good question because you will judge that based on all the components that really make not just a good singer, but a good performer, not just a good dancer, but a good presenter, not just a good presenter, but a good
popular
message.
Music.
Exactly.
It's about just a great, dazzling show. So Anyway, that's my take.
All right.
And we're going to get back to the show.
Intelligent, fun, and super real. This is the Marla and Dave Radio Show.
I should have brought boxing gloves today. I
I
feel
don't
like
know why. I think you're just carrying over some other issues into
I'm
this
just
particular
I'm
conversation.
mad that I'm a woman today. On general, everything I have to do is just to represent a little microcosm
You're
of this whole
mad
issue.
that you're a woman?
I'm mad
What
that
does
as
that
a
even
woman that I
mean?
have to just juggle so much stuff at all times. It's almost like we shouldn't be in all these hats. Anyway, Brian Davis post on Instagram, on Facebook, and he says there was a time when just showing the ankles was enough to satisfy the objectification of women by men. Today, the objectification of women is without restraint. Who's to blame? He says, with growing appetites, do you blame the cook or the diner?
Okay. That's just another way of putting the question that what's your answer? That's the key. What is the answer to that question? I agree with his assessment.
We already assessed it, Brian.
Because if you look at the media in general, especially now with social media, no one's making girls get on their social networks and twerk. No one's making that.
No,
no
you
one's
don't even
making.
know.
No one's making the girls actually get on their social media accounts and start exposing themselves.
What?
No one's making that happen.
I'm supposed to.
But the
what?
girls, but the women themselves. And so my thing is, really, it makes it difficult. Guys, I talk to guys all the time that have no idea how to approach a woman now, because at work, if a woman really comes in looking nice and you're trying to figure out, that's where you spend most of your time. So if you're going to find someone to date, that's the natural place to get started. And then all of a sudden, if you say anything about the way she looks or anything like that, even if you just, hey, you look really nice today. You want to get a cup of coffee?
That's not true. See, the thing about
I
it
know that
is-
seems like an over-exaggeration,
And
but
this
guys
is
are
where-
confused. It's the truth. Deal with it.
You know what's here's the sad side note to all of this. Men probably are confused, but have we been confused at you? Has our confusion had an impact?
Okay,
This is
really?
the problem. Yes, really.
I know you are, but what about me? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying to you is it's the very fact that you keep glazing over that very fact is why we are where we are. Stop it. I want you to stop it. I want you to stop. I'm saying don't
You're just kind of you.
Dave,
I'm not quite
what's
sure
your
where this is going or where it's coming from.
What
Because I'm really saying that guys are having a problem.
you just
help us.
You'd present.
Help us.
Do you want help?
I do.
Because I'm trying to tell you, and you don't seem like you want help. You just
Okay,
you
help
want me
me.
to agree with your opinion, and I'm not going to because I don't believe in it.
I'm asking a question.
What
No
is your
opinion
question?
stated.
What is your question? I'm going to answer it again.
Guys are trying to figure out in this climate what is appropriate. What is the appropriate way to approach a woman that you're interested in dating?
Genuine communication and respect. The reason is that we are where we are is because most of the time you come at us, it's not respectful. Period. You're married because even when we were single, you were a respectful guy. So that's the bottom line. So what I'm saying to you is the rules are the same. No one wants to be disrespected. Dudes don't want to be disrespected, and girls don't want to be disrespected. Men nor women want to be disrespected. So the bottom line is we've given too much, we've accepted too much, and we've allowed too much in the way of disrespect on both sides. But let's not act like that there's a leper thing now, and ooh, I really want to be. Now we're going to have to just, go home and masturbate because nobody can get with the next person because we're about to be considered a steen. Stop. We're a Harvey Weinstein. Stop. All I'm saying to you is the rules are basic. They're basic. You come at me, and I have been out many times with my friends, and I'm going to just keep this all the way real. And I've even come home and told you from time to time, I had to laugh. There was this guy, and I ended up having a great conversation because of all the people who hit on me, which is often and a lot. There's only been a few who came genuine with a conversation that even though I'm not, it doesn't turn into a date or any kind of a situation, but it opens me up to not dismiss you. I don't want to hear nice ass. I don't want to hear damn. All of that is stupid. That's disrespectful. So you can do it as long as you don't put your hands on me, but it's not going to cause me to engage you even as a human. Because forget about my vagina. I'm human like you are, and I want to have an intelligent conversation that will open up a dialogue that starts with respect, period.
So let me ask this simple question. When a woman goes out scantily clad or looking as sexy as she can possibly look, is there a motivation for that, in your opinion?
Possibly.
And what is the motivation?
It could be she could be looking for sex. She could be looking to hook up.
And I think that...
Or she could just feel like that's something that makes her feel good.
And I think that most guys have no problem with that. And I think that most guys, because nowadays women hoot and holler at guys as well. Women are very sexually aggressive in some cases.
I'm going to tell you.
And most guys, you'll find not a single guy who would say, "Oh my God,
yes,
that's disgusting."
Yes.
Okay, I don't know of any.
Yes, I do. I do.
I don't know of any guy who is interested in that.
Yeah, and you do too.
Who?
I tell you who jokes like that and who's disgusted by that from time to time as a friend. Greg Gunther, I'll say his name, hates it unless it's somebody that he has mutual interest in. It's which is the barrier for everybody. And let me tell you this right quick as well. This is also very interesting that you might find. Hey, Dave, here's a fun fact: men in the world.
Help.
90% of the time, women who dress up in lingerie do it to make themselves feel good. They buy lingerie because they like the lingerie. They like the look of lingerie. They like the feel of lingerie. They like to feel the little satiny things. I'm just trying to tell you that most of the time, sexy is a thing that is internal. And sometimes I can actually feel sexy enough to responsibly not mind presenting myself in a sexy way, which is what's interesting to me, because that confidence is the sexiest thing on the planet. And most people I walk out of my house and I'm connected to all three of my girls at all times: my intellectual self, my sexual self, and my emotional self. We're pals. We run together. So, but I too have been criticized because you're never home. And so people go, well, how come you're out here? If you're married, what are you doing? I'm having a good time with my friends.
Okay, who says that? Guys
a lot
or
of
girls?
people.
Women, men or
men.
women?
I've had men get angry.
But do women say the same thing?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. But most of the time, I've heard it from men who are feeling like, why aren't you home? You belong to someone. Bro, do I look anywhere like Kizzy to you? Like, am I slaving right here? I'm just saying. Who are you, Massa? No. So what I'm saying to you is that's a faulty, what we're trying to break through, and I'll go quiet, is this faulty perception. We don't want to be sluts or hoes or tricks, but what we want to do is to be able to present our individuality without feeling like that this one thing equals this thing over here.
Okay, so let me just reiterate. I do not think that women have less value than men. I believe the value is exactly the same. I have raised my daughters to, if they so choose, and we have a phone call, so I'm gonna put a pin in that.
Yeah, put in that.
Caller, help me, please.
Welcome to the Marla and Dave Show. Your name and what's your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Milton.
Oh my God, Milton, get the hell! Don't make me hurt you live on air.
Milton, careful, because I'm already in very warm water that's about to get hot. It might get too hot, depending on what you say.
Milton, I'm gonna give you 30 seconds. What do you want? What?
Hi, Marla.
Hey, Milton.
Not very popular with you, so I will.
Milton,
stay out of your way.
Milton, stop right there. You came on my feed, and you were talking about this is the reason that we get with white women, and you're supposed to be popular as black as I am.
Wait. Let's just let Milton make his
All right,
case.
go,
please.
Milton, go.
Milton, go ahead.
Marla, you solved my problem for me. I have been in a relationship for 15 years with a woman who is white. Her name is Olivia. She's been begging me to marry her. And as a result of my conversation with you today, I'm going to get on my hands and knees and beg Olivia to marry me.
Okay, but go ahead and make your point, Milton, because you are on the
Well,
borderline
my
of
point-
equally offending
okay,
men.
I'll be brief. The point is, I cannot deal with this rift between black women and black men. I need some happiness in my life, and it looks like the only way I'm going to find that happiness is with a mate who just happened to be Caucasian. I saw Morgan Freeman the other day, and he seemed so happy with his wife, who just happened to be Caucasian. So, Marla, thank you for making this very clear.
And
to
you know what,
me.
Milton, you're welcome. And if I could send Olivia flowers, I would do that.
Milton,
so
let me-
happy
let
for
me-
you
Milton,
and sad for her that she got you.
First of all, Milton, thank you for calling the show, but we're going to let you go because, quite honestly, you actually offended me because I'm happy to be married to Marla, an African-American woman. And I don't think that this issue has anything to do with
black
race.
and white. You
Yeah,
have
this
to
is
get
not
happy on your own.
This is not a race issue. This issue is an issue of, I understand the plight of women today wanting to have equal pay for the same job. That makes perfect sense. I completely understand that a woman could have any job to an extent, aside from some physical jobs, that a man can do. If it has to do with, am I smart enough? The Milton's gone. Am I smart enough? Am I smart enough or anything else to handle the job of? Matter of fact, I fault women for the fact that we have Donald Trump as president today. It should be Hillary Clinton. And with all the women out there, the first time, and I make no qualms about this, the first time that I was able to vote for a well-qualified African-American president, if it's apples and apples, I voted for Barack Obama. My friend said, why did you do that? I said, because he was black.
Listen, let me tell you something. I have to say this, and this is very interesting because I'm glad Milton called in. This is my point. This is what he basically said in a nutshell is, yes, for me, it's all about ownership. I don't want an equal. I don't want anybody who has their own voice. I don't want anybody who has their own mind. I want somebody who's just going to be completely submissive. And if that makes him happy, that's great. But what I'm saying to you is real love doesn't have anything to do with any of that. And neither does respect. And so you want to be respected, but whatever that means for you, you have the nerve to think that you find it, which is also to me equally insulting, not just to Olivia, but to white women. It's insulting to women that you would say there's somebody who will just shut the F up and do what I want. And dude, you're a disgrace. That's disgraceful for me. And the other thing about it is, and I'm just going to come all the way clean, you got me on the wrong day. The issue for me today
Why are you actually mad?
Because I am.
It's Milton.
It doesn't matter. And so that's the other point that I'm trying to make. The other thing I'm trying to make is don't try to get your soft on at home, and yet you're up in my feed every minute of every day, following everything I do, talking to me every single solitary day. Clearly, you're looking for some backbone somewhere. Find it on somebody else's page. Peace out.
The key is
bye, boy.
The key is
boy, bye.
You're welcome to block anybody off.
I'm
your
not.
page.
It's not. I'm not gonna block him.
And
I'm gonna let him continue to look at me.
And so
realize that he needs sugar, cream in his coffee, because the coffee black, the way it's intended, is just too much for you.
Well, I put it to you like this. There was a time
I did that for your IBG,
when
Tony.
one of my friends basically did also tell me that African American women had a lot of spirit, and I said, well, if I'm going to buy a horse, wouldn't I want the most energetic, spirited horse out there, or would I want
Not
a
if you're a
horse
bad
that was
rider.
just gonna, and the key is
You got to be a jockey, boy.
The
Don't
type
come
of
here.
person that I am, I appreciate the fact that my wife is like iron sharpening iron. I love to argue. I love to go back and forth because at the end of that, the best point's going to win. If my point can't stand, it should lose. And that is my point altogether. No one is discussing where the value of a woman actually lies, except when it seems like in order for some women, and I'm not going to say all women, in order for some women to feel valuable, they put their sexuality forward.
That has happened.
Which is a different issue altogether.
That has happened.
And that's what I'm talking about, the objectifying of women. To be equal It's not a matter of who is the sexiest.
But the point is that the things that are denied us, the criticism that we endure, the scrutiny that we're under, this is what my problem is. The scrutiny that we're under has to do with the fact that if I don't move and respond and look and present like this, these are the prices that I so horribly pay to even be able to do things as basic as use my talents and my gifts in areas that I'm gifted to do. I.e., let's take it to another format you'll get even more appropriately. When Take 6 first started, and I would go on the road with the promotion person who was shout out to Tony, who was adding your project. And we were in the Nashville. We were living in Nashville, and she would go to the radio promoters, and she was trying to get your singles added. And I've been in these luncheons before, and I said, "What? The guys have Grammys. Why is it so hard? The songs are off the chain." He said, "Yeah, because essentially they're not talking about, excuse my French, but booty pussy." And essentially, he said, "Tell them to, basically." And I came home and told you that it was a radio station in the Chattanooga area. And the point that I'm trying to make is that there's a standard that exists, whether it's justified or not, that says if you're not doing this, which is outside, it's always been outside of Take 6's moral code, you can only go so far. This is where you are, even though what you bring to the table is better than anything in the entire world. It is literally musically a unicorn, but it is not cherished as a unicorn because it doesn't match the Shetland pony, the horse farm. So what I'm saying to you is this: that's the problem with women. So women have tried to compete to get out the box. So how do I get what their desire to be out the box is bigger than everything else that they're going to endure. The scrutiny, the objectification, the inappropriate relationships. In some cases, it's like how much is your soul really worth? There's very few people, because staying over here is so painful. Staying over here hurts so bad. Staying over here it gets us into a point where we can't ever be fulfilled. So I'm trying to find a way to be fulfilled, and if that means I might have to try the little skinny dress, or I might have to agree to take this lunch with Weinstein, or I might have to, and women do that because I got to get through you, or be accepted by you, or be bolstered up and elevated by you to succeed.
Okay, so let me also recognize another point. Just like I don't think that there's good equality in sports teams owners and the athletes that play the sports, but at the same time, it's very difficult to try to get all of them to stick together and make things better for themselves for a variety of reasons, and we're going to get back to that when we come back.
It's time for the Marla and Dave Doghouse.
Just walk around today.
Marla has something that should put Dave in the doghouse. Dave has something that should put Marla in the doghouse. You decide who gets a biscuit and who gets busted and ends up in the doghouse.
Go ahead, Marla. Make your case.
You just did. Get in the doghouse and shut the door.
No.
I'm done. That's all I got to say.
So here's the doghouse case that I want to present against Marla today. So I came home. Now, usually, Marla says that she does a lot of things, and she does. We all do a lot of things. But at the same time, when she wakes up in the morning, she gets coffee in bed, Tony. Without fail, for years. Marla, would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
When something in the kitchen needs cleaning, boom, I'm on it.
If indeed you're home.
I also from time to time, we'll cook the dinner and still wash the dishes. When it comes time to, just the other day, I was like, man, you know what? I can't take this bathroom. I just clean the bathroom.
That's true.
And when it comes time to clean it up, I'll just clean up. If the hamper is overloaded, I'll just wash the clothes.
What is your point for me being in the doghouse?
So I came in from
Equality.
out of town, and Marla, the same dishes that were in the sink and on the stove when I left days ago, Tony, were still there.
2 days. It's true.
2 days, yeah.
Yep.
It might have been 3. I think it was 3 or 4 days.
Maybe 3, maybe 5.
Yeah. And so
Could've
the
been
bottom
5.
line is there was an odor coming from.
Oh, that's because I had taken some cauliflower rice and forgot to turn the disposal on. Put it in the disposal. Yep, that happened too.
The doghouse offense is because if the tables were turned, it would be a doghouse offense.
And by the way, just to let you understand, I really am going to get in the doghouse because you were so cute doing those dishes. I should have smacked that ass right at the same time because then that's
She did.
objectifying. Yeah, as a matter of fact,
and
I
quite
did it.
honestly, she's going to pay for it. Anyway, that's the doghouse. I do still make the petition for Marla to enter the doghouse and stay. We'll be right back.
What's the action?
You'll laugh. You'll learn. You'll learn. You'll get mad. Shut up. You'll get happy. But you won't be bored. This is the Marla and Dave radio show
So there's-
on the Universal Broadcast Network.
There's a lot of comments here that are being posted by Aaron Golding. I see you, Aaron. And again, welcome everybody who's on our social feeds, Facebook, the Marla and Dave show page, Marla's Facebook, Marla Thomas's Facebook, also Periscope, ubnradiotv.com.
I don't.
Let me say, Aaron says, Marla, is that called identity crisis when anyone choice to compromise when anyone chooses to compromise their values and morals? No, I don't think it's an identity crisis. I think that it's a scream to. First of all, let me just say this: everybody's not even raised to be morally sound. Everybody doesn't even grow up knowing right from wrong. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, we've seen it from time to time in our own family. Everybody doesn't get the set of parents who gives them a foundation that says, listen, yes, yes, no, no. That doesn't happen for everybody. So some people struggle through the hardest of all hard ways trying to determine these things. That's the first thing. So I don't think it's an identity crisis at all, point blank, period. I think that an identity crisis would be, getting to a certain point and doing something that's uncharacteristic in your life. Like, we used to say men run out and spend a lot of money on a sports car. I have a different concept even about that that's even funnier. I think that when men are physically able to be in a sports car, those men, when men are physically able, they can't afford it. And by the time they can afford it, they're too old and crotchety, and it's uncomfortable for them to be in the sports car. So the whole sports car thing is crazy and fleeting. Nobody really deserves to be in a sports car but Justin Bieber. I'm just saying. He's at the perfect age.
Okay, well, and again, I left the last segment, and thank you for responding, and we love you guys giving us feedback on the social networks. I even like guys like Milton calling in, which the number, by the way, is 323-524-2599. Even if you make a point that I completely disagree with, and I'm going to have to hang up on you like we just did Milton, because not only did you insult my wife, you insulted me. But I'll put it to you like this. I'm
not mad.
It's important to hear everyone's ideas on issues like these, because just like I was saying, I used to say all the time, why don't all the athletes just get together and say, if you don't treat us fairly, we won't play? And the reason is that seems like it's never going to happen. No matter what happens, there's going to be somebody who's willing to go to the lowest common denominator just to get that gig. And it's just like people say all the time, it's an African-American issue, it's a black issue as to how they get treated. They should just band together. And all black people are not the same.
No,
we
that's
don't
true.
all think alike. We don't all agree. Just like all white people aren't Republicans, all white people aren't Democrats. Everybody has their own opinion, and that's a great thing. The real bottom line is we should not have to argue about what is right. In other words, you can have opinions on things that I think, whether we approach our politics from a conservative perspective or whether we can approach our politics from a more liberal perspective. But we should not feel like it's okay for a certain race of people to not even be considered human beings. We should not consider that there's a certain gender of human beings that should always get paid less for doing the same amount of work as another gender does.
Isn't that what you're doing?
Doesn't make any sense. No, that is not what I'm doing at all. And so I'm saying that to start out, and I do know that it just becomes almost rhetoric to ask the question of shouldn't all women band together? Well, no, all women will still have different opinions, but I will say this. It makes it difficult for a guy when a woman is some of these shorts in your cheeks. The other day, you and I were somewhere and we said, oh, look at that. Her cheeks are just hanging out. It makes it difficult not to notice that.
But you know what? Here's what I'm going to
so
say.
It makes it difficult to actually start to address anything else that person is doing because
That's
her
true.
cheeks are out.
And what I was saying to you is I think that very concept sells men short. It's almost as if men are so sexually charged and mindless that it should be almost an expectation that when they're presented with someone who's scantily clad or someone who's enticing, that they just me touch booty. It's like, really, you don't have a brain, like you can't, because to me, integrity is a two-way street, and an integral person won't go there either way, regardless of how they're presented or regardless of how they're seen. They won't go there either way.
Okay, I'm gonna put it to you like this, Marla.
Put it to me like that.
If an African American male
Yep.
walks into a store
Mm-hmm.
and is just behaving in a certain way, and suddenly grabs a pack of anything, a pack of gum, a bag of chips, or anything, and forgets to pay, because that does happen. You've forgotten to pay many a time, not many, but several times at the Village.
Did you just call me a thief?
No, but watch this. But watch this.
That has happened to me before.
But because
I didn't forget I left my wallet.
because of who you are, no one actually accuses you of stealing, and you come back and you make it right, and they say, "Oh, that's okay. We knew you would." If that same teenage African American boy
if I was naked,
does that,
they would have just given me the food for free.
He's going to be thought of as someone who's just a thug trying to steal something from the store. In that environment, how would you advise your teenage African American son? Because we did have one.
Right.
He's much older now. How would you advise him to behave?
Right. I would definitely tell him that this would put him in jeopardy, without a shadow of a doubt. I would tell him that we used to teach DJ, you can't do the things that your white friends can do because it will cost you your life. You can't talk back. You have to behave like this. There's a respect that whether it's warranted or not from authority, you have to present like this if you care about living.
If you care about living. And so my thing is, and I agree that it's not right, but if women actually...
No.
Watch this, Marla, just watch this. If you want the first thing that comes to my mind to be something of that you consider of value, it would be difficult for anyone, male or female, if you showed up butt naked, for me to actually then not ignore the elephant in the room.
That's true.
And that's all I'm saying.
No, that's true, but that's for obvious reasons. But what I'm saying to you is, and it's true, I'm saying that that's like crazy obscure clothing. If B. Slade walked in here, I'd be like, really? Okay, because he is an outrageous
his
dresser.
appearance is outrageous,
and it doesn't have to do with it's. That's what I'm saying. It would be that's the same thing. If I'm doing something like the girl in Venice Beach, that's clear. But we're not talking about the extremes. We're talking about dumbing my individuality down, not being me. You're telling me not to responsibly express myself because that's a sliding scale.
It is a sliding scale.
And so I gotta wear a sack? You want me to go into a burqa? I'm just saying, sigh all you want. That's what if you get to dictate what it is that will become acceptable and what
I don't.
Or you're saying that's the reason why that we can't get from point A to point B and be respected is because we're taking the attention away from ourselves. Looks
The initial question was, who is doing the objectifying these days? And quite honestly, you were watching The View this morning. And right before because we both had things to do, we were walking out the house, you were watching The View. Suddenly they were talking about Justin Timberlake. One of them, the first thing out of her mouth was, I couldn't even pay attention to what he was singing, what it sounded like.
Because the way he was dressed.
He was just dressed in a ridiculous way. And again, that was, there are only women on The View.
And
she was objectifying Justin Timberlake and disregarding his music simply by how he was dressed.
Your Honor, can I speak?
Please.
Yeah, but guess what?
What?
Who gives a rat's A? You can objectify him, dog him, don't like him. He's singing at the Super Bowl. His opportunity was not stopped by what he was wearing and whether. That's the difference. So fine. Once I succeed, talk about me. But the reality is that's the difference. That women have learned that if I don't do this, generally speaking, I don't get that opportunity. That opportunity doesn't come to me. And that's the bottom line. You're not singing at the Super Bowl. Take Six is not doing the Super Bowl halftime show, and your show's off the chain. Your live show is one of the best shows on the planet Earth.
I knew I should have had like a bunch of clothes.
If you got
on,
some ass out
jackets,
chaps,
shirts hanging out.
Yeah,
well, Justin didn't have an ass out chaps.
But that's what you guys need to go
but
far.
Prince performed, and
yeah,
before,
you guys
he's one of the greatest.
You guys need to throw Vin in a
Halftime
banana hammock. You guys need some chaps. Get away. Ow!
Anyway, I really don't see how, and I understand how women can be offended at the nuance that I'm trying to insert into this conversation, but I don't see how they can actually disagree with the point that I'm actually making.
You're never going to see it because you are a man. Your packaging in your brain
Check
is
the
logical.
social networks. See what they're saying right quick.
The social networks are saying a lot of stuff. The social networks are saying, Linda Davis says, sometimes I believe that women tend to sell themselves short and allow themselves to be put in certain situations. That's something that would
agree with me.
Right. So there's no room for you, Linda, in the doghouse with me, okay?
Thank you,
saying,
Linda.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm not going to rebut that. That's fine. And again, I think, like I was trying to tell you from the very beginning, that I understand your point and I agree with it, but I'm telling you where the flaw is, which is the flaw is evident because we're here. The flaw is evident because there's Me Too. The flaw is evident because there's a lot of women that were taking it on many fronts for a very long time. There's a lot of women, like I said before, we could just take it to a domestic platform, and there's a lot of their personal. There's 4 women I could name right now. I won't do it. That have been married, that were married for a long time, raised children, served their families. Husbands were a mess. Came out of the marriages only for their husbands to manipulate financially and leave them destitute, just to not afford them any kind of financial restitution or alimonies or things of the sort, and left them high and dry and then went on to the next. So what I'm saying to you is it's not fair. It's not fair. And through the years, I've seen this happen over and over and over again, and it's the same thing. What do you have to do to be valued? And like we were talking today in our office, by the way, shout out to Dwell Realty. I am a realtor and I love my firm. And so we were having a meeting today, and in the meeting, shout out to Jeff and Dan. One of the things that we got into in the meeting was this very conversation. And should women and men be equal? If there's no children involved, the question that was asked is, why is it that a man is always ordered to pay a woman in the case of a divorce when 2 people are working when a divorce happens? And I said, because it's the partnership of the life I've invested in. Whoever's making the most money, and this is again barring kids be left out of it, it should be fair because 2 people coming together enhance the other person's life and value going forward. We're growing this thing together.
Okay, I have to stop you there because you spoke about this before the show.
Yep.
And see, to me, I'm for being fair and for things being equal. Even if I made $200,000 and you made $100,000, we're used to a household of $300,000, correct?
Yep.
All right. When we split, we should all be able to at least get $150,000, correct?
That's
what
Dan is saying.
We're used to 300. So if you take your half, you got 150. If I take my half, I have 150, which means that I should have to augment you, who's making the 100,000, with at least $50,000 of income, so we can have equality.
Correct. There should be equal. There should be an equal investment in not causing me to live lower than we were before. Whoever's responsible to have to pay that other person to maintain.
Yes.
In the life we've built is what happens.
If we're both making $100,000, I shouldn't have to pay you.
Well, then there's.
And to me,
then there's the uterus clause.
And see, and again, this is what always trips men up, because it feels like we're being punished for getting a divorce.
Well,
and that's an issue. If it's going to be equal, let it be equal.
Unless, again, there are other factors, which in a lot of cases, all the cases that I was speaking of, there's children involved, and that makes it a little bit different. For whoever the primary caregiver is, it could be a man. I don't care. It could be the husband. It doesn't matter. Whoever is going to be that domestic provider for that family. Up until now,
though, it hasn't, because of the patriarchal nature of society and some of the laws that tend to actually be far behind the times, quite honestly. What I'm saying is the money that comes in, because that's the only money in the pot, should still be split evenly if we're both making the same amount of money for taking care of the kids. I mean, that's a fact. It shouldn't be the husband's job to pay for the kids if we both make the same amount of money. We should both have to still take care of our children.
I understand that, but for the person who's made the kids their career, that's a different story. Fact.
I agree. If you made $0 at an actual job, then everything you're saying is correct. Mm-hmm. Very few households actually still roll that way in urban societies.
So what you just said live on air is, if there's a dissolution, you owe me 80%, and I have 20. We're 20-80. We're not even 50-50.
It's absolutely the case.
Then 90-10. Say it. Say it.
I'm not saying anything. Your Honor, I didn't have my lawyer present. Anyway, but you get what I'm saying. To me, fair should be fair. And again, because that is the conversation, that's where I think the conversation should go.
Jackie said, Marla is speaking the truth, and she said, men are wired differently. You will never see our side, Dave.
I don't think so, Jackie. I see your side right now.
She said,
I've been correctly arguing your side the entire time. Every time I make a point, I start from your side.
One summer, a white man grabbed her breast on the elevator at work because he wanted to know if they were real or Memorex. She said, I knocked the ish out of him.
Did he get fired?
Did he get fired, Jackie? We want to hear that when we come back from the break.
If she reported him.
Was there any kind of
important.
Right. And so the other thing about it is, and that gets scary too, because the power is not even in your word. The power is in what he says.
We'll be right back.
It's time to play the Marla and Dave Love Game. Here are Marla and Dave to explain how it works.
All right, Marla, let you introduce the love game this time.
We're behind on all of that too. We need a new love game. The lust game.
Could you please introduce the love game?
The MaD love game is a game that Dave and I have created, and this game is a card game that has 3 different categories. All the three things that we know pretty much make or break every relationship: sex, communication, and finance. There's a single die, and the die has Marla and Dave logo on it, which if you land on that is wild. Or it's represented on that die is also one of each of the 3 categories. If you roll that, you choose a card. All of the answers on the card are official answers that have been placed there by doing research at the PEW Pew Research Center. And also what makes the game fun is that there's another part of the card that's a discussion question. So once you answer the card, it makes it really fun to have this open the discussion up amongst your adult friends.
So to keep it equal, I'm rolling the dice today.
Yeah, okay.
And it's wild.
Do it with your shirt off.
It's wild. Okay, never mind.
See?
Anyway,
Tony,
so
Tony.
I'm gonna go
Tony.
to the category of finance. And the question today, if a woman only wants to date a man who offers her financial security, is she a gold digger?
What?
If a woman only wants to date a man who offers her financial security, is she considered a gold digger?
No. I think she's considered smart, and all women want security. Now, if it's how much money that matters, but I think every woman wants to know that her lights are on and that there's a fence outside and a place to park her car and to have him park his.
Okay. Anyway, I technically think that if that is her soul, if that is the sole quality that she's looking for, and that's the only thing, I think that does make her a gold digger.
Listen,
even though the answer is
priorities, baby.
Technically, the answer is no. Gold diggers have an added narcissistic quality, and I would dare say that if that is your only characteristic that you look at, I think that does qualify as that narcissistic quality.
I think that when
So
I was
I'm
in
not sure
my
I agree with
20s,
that.
I would have never considered a person's
Marla
FICO.
must have slipped this card in and the answer without me knowing.
In my 20s, I would have never considered a man's FICO score as important information. It wouldn't be the top of my list, but at this point, his financial health would be of paramount importance.
Okay. The further discussion question, again, like Marla said, when you're playing with a bunch of your friends, this is where the fun gets amplified to the nth degree.
Or you lose all your friends.
The further discussion question for this card is, does the need to be taken care of financially transcend genders?
Yes.
In other words, can men be gold diggers too?
Absolutely. Especially now more than ever. I know men like that too.
I'll put it to you like this. That becomes nuanced to me again, because if there's a man who exhibits that behavior, he's really looked down upon. But if there's a woman who exhibits that behavior, it's just what happens.
I hate to go here, but
You know what I mean?
I'm going to.
It's just what happens.
It's also, I mean, there now with LGBT.
I was going to ask, what happens in the
That's where I see a lot
other
of it.
communities
It
that
happens.
it happens, and how do they deal with that, Tony? Is that a bad thing, or is that just the way it is?
It's looked down upon, but people, most people like, if they're happy with each other, then,
Right.
because he needs somebody to love him, and then this one needs to be taken care of.
Wife me.
But, a lot of people go, ugh. Like,
Yeah, it's
Right.
yeah,
I'm
it's
not trying to raise you, son.
right.
Even though
Yeah.
I'm telling you that I run into it a lot.
Oh, a lot.
And I wonder if in the lesbian community it's the same way.
I don't run into it. It's not verbalized as much there. It's weird. Because women are, we've burned our bras, Dave. This is just these numbers.
I keep looking at the shirts of women, not that I'm objectifying, but I see a lot of bras.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say. Yeah. Anyway, no, I think that that's the case. I do. I think that now people are no longer, first of all, nobody wants to, the average person is no longer fulfilled in their purpose. Nobody wants to do anything anymore. Everybody wants to
Wants to have
Everybody
things,
wants
but they
to
don't
have
wanna-
without the effort of having.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
So society in general
Man,
is becoming
women,
narcissistic.
Right. Yeah. That's not a gender issue.
Anyway, the Mad Love Game, you can get your own version of the Mad Love Game, your
Get a copy
own
today.
copy of the Mad Love Game by going to www.marlanddave.com. Click on the Mad Merch tab, and there you can order yours. It will be there in a few days. Have fun this weekend with the Mad Love Game. Back to the show.
David is a thinker.
I never do anything without thinking about it first.
Marla is a feeler.
I basically wear my personality on my sleeve.
But when Marla and Dave get together, it's like a match dancing with a firecracker. This is the Marla and Dave radio show on the Universal Broadcast Network.
So we're going to hit the poll question.
And so we actually weren't available last week to actually have the show live. So the poll question from the week before got carried over. And the question was, does Donald Trump's behavior put the U.S. in jeopardy of actually going to war? Your options were yes, hashtag loose lips sink ships. A little tongue twister there. Or no, all bark, no bite. And quite honestly, I was surprised at the answers. 71% said yes, he definitely puts us in jeopardy. But 29% said no. And my question is, what? Are those just Trump supporters that happen to be watching the Marla and Dave show? I would be surprised at this point, but
yeah, people like conflict, and according to our earlier conversation with Milton, who called in, people like attention.
Maybe so.
I don't even think that Milton has Olivia.
But we encourage you to continue to vote on the poll questions. The poll question for next week is on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, what number would you give JT's, Justin Timberlake's halftime performance? And you got your hashtag 1 through 5. You get to decide.
There you go.
We'll be back.
Can you handle the truth? This is modern American dialogue in a mad world from two unique, fresh, transparent perspectives. This is the Marla and Dave radio show.
The funny thing is we had a phone call waiting, but it seems like soon as I said, could a Donald Trump supporter actually be watching the Marla and Dave show, suddenly they hung up.
Hilarious. Did I mention that I think
man.
that Milton's in a relationship with Farrah Fawcett's old poster pinup? Did I mention that?
Yeah, I know a lot of guys who are.
With Farrah Fawcett?
Milton's not alone. That's probably why he's mad.
Yeah. He might even be a Bo Derek fan. There's one for you. There's one from the back in the day. Anyway, man, well, none of this is going to be solved overnight. I will at least say this, just so Dave doesn't get jumped by a bunch of women who try to strap him up with their bras that they're no longer using. Dave, you are a very conscious and compassionate and kind soul. So I know that nothing that you're saying is anything that would not want women or anybody to win, because you're a person who values all people. I just think that it's impossible for you to see the nuances of this from our deeper perspective.
Maybe so, but that's why I asked the question. We were at a restaurant about a few weeks ago, and two young ladies walked in, and they sat next to us, and technically they were sitting next to me because I was on the same side that they were on. They sat on my side, and
sat on my lap.
They literally started. They were talking about their blues that they were experiencing in their lack of relationships that they were in, and they were both recently single. And I asked them why, and essentially before it came out in just different ways, but before one of them actually found out who the guy was that they were dating. When I say found out, she didn't really know that much about him. Next thing you know, they were living together. But when they started living together, she started to realize that she didn't like what she saw. And she was having a hard time because they had already become physical. They had a sexual relationship, and she was having a hard time actually separating from the relationship because things were so convoluted at this point. And I said, I guarantee you, if you had said not put sex on the table, not put moving in together on the table, and you were just yourself, maybe that guy because she said that when they first started dating, she presented herself in one way. They were so much fun. They did all these things. I said, had you just stayed yourself instead of thinking like you said, Beyonce in jest. But if you actually went out,
if you like it, then you could have put a ring on
if
it.
you went out in the way that you were and you were just yourself, you would literally only attract those that were into you, for you being you. Not having to, and the same thing with the guys. You don't have to actually put on false pretense to attract a date. Once you do that, you get what's real.
You don't understand.
You get a better chance.
You don't understand the nuances of this, not because you're a boy or a man. It's because of your gender. It's because you're married. You don't communicate with the outside world of single people as much as me. So I'm going to give you this too. It's the same problem.
On both sides. That's what I said.
It's about competing. It's about the fact that now everybody they think that the connection is about sex. It's the instant connection. And if I don't, she will. And that doesn't, now I have to tell myself this doesn't make me less of. anybody because I want it as much as he wants it. And so the reality is they go there. And it does before it's time. I think because the thing that I want to say is about this as well, and I got a couple minutes. This is my problem with equality. We are equal in humanity. We are not equal by design. You're designed as a man differently than me. There are certain things that shouldn't dictate what that actually susses out to be. But the fact of the matter is, we're different. And men, I'm going to tell everybody this for the last time. If a man loves you, but when he gets there, and you can correct me, I believe by my experience, he then works to provide and to cover. It's his pleasure to do that for you. I.e. Dave coming home and washing the dishes. Okay, you love me, nice. But at the same time, if I go there and Dave, you've been in relationships sexually, before you were actually truly saved and married your angel, and I've been around when there was a person who was actually upset that you were no longer talking to her because you had sex with her, and she was changing all of her information and trying to chase you from class to class because she felt like that you were supposed to be together. So what I'm saying is, before it's time, you're wired differently. That connected her. It disconnected you because it was just a verb. Boom, sex, done.
Okay, and again, that's why I say clear communication going into the
People lie to
relationship.
themselves.
The clear communication that I offered was, this is only about the sex. And when she has sex, she agrees going in,
Nope.
and then on
right.
on the back
because
end,
ultimately,
she wants something different.
My Kegels are gonna make you love me. Anyway, Tony Fontana's on, and Tony says, you know that I know some gold digging dudes, but not men. Okay, we get your point. I get that. And
thank you, and I agree with you there,
yep.
Tony.
And Tatiana Thompson says, "Wow, I've been there." So I think she's responding to what you were talking about with the ladies at the bar. So, the bottom line is this, guys. We should stop trying to shy away from the fact that we're different. We are women by nature are more, we train ourselves to be different, but by nature, we're driven by emotions. Not that that's all we are, but that's a driver for us. We are emotional beings. Men are external, visual, and logical by nature. And so logical will put on the end of everybody's, but my first instinct is to feel it, where a man's first instinct is to judge it and decide. Not in judgment, but you make a decision, and it's usually based on your visual, based on what you need.
And here's my final thought. My final thought is, I agree with any woman who says it's not my place or any man's place to actually define the nature of this argument. But I will say that it is all of our place to keep the discussion on the table, because we need to continue through this type of communication, presenting ideas that will continue to uplift all of us.
And that's going to start when we decide that's a very basic formula in my world. In my world, this is going to get better when we stop settling. Everyone has gone down a slippery sliding scale, and we're operating below standard, all of us. And that someone on here, I think it was a gentleman earlier, who said that essentially the problem is that there's no more morals. The morals and respect within ourselves that is now exuding outward is gone. And that's our problem. And that if we can fix that, and we can stop settling and justifying things within ourselves and wait for what's right, then we're going to be in a much better position anyway. And then it won't matter if I have on my thong that I'm wearing to the office at Dwell next week, Tuesday. If you want to get a house, Marla's going to be wearing a thong and pasties to work.
See what that works out to be. Anyway, this has been our show for this week, the Marla and Dave Show. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next week. Have a good one.